What's up everyone, welcome back to another episode of Workshop Rebuild. You guys have been waiting long enough for a new video, and here you guys have it, the final video on the John Deere 400 series garden tractor. This will be the last video of the John Deere 400 in the rebuild series. So everything from part 1 when I received the John Deere 400 till today, which is the final video, there are exactly 16 videos will be dedicated to the rebuild series. Everything after the rebuild series will still be in the same John Deere 400 playlist on my channel, but I'll give you guys a better insight on this John Deere 400 as I'll be working on the rear-mounted rototiller. I received that when I purchased this garden tractor. So that is a 4-foot wide rear-mounted rototiller which hooks up to our 3-point hitch, and it is shaft driven. So I'll be working on that to get that running for the springtime, so we can hopefully get this tractor up and running with an attachment and get it back to work. In one of my last rebuilds, which was the John Deere 300, I wrote down all the costs that went into my rebuild, and I also made a timesheet so I knew how much time I invested within the rebuild. So for the John Deere 400, I did the exact same. I wrote down all the costs and I wrote down every single minute I invested for this rebuild. So if you guys are interested in an upcoming video like that, please hit the like button down below and consider subscribing, because then you'll be one of the first to see that video. Right now, I'll give you guys a good walk around on the John Deere 400 so you guys have a good view on the whole garden tractor. And if you guys have any questions, leave them down below as I walk around this garden tractor. Right off the bat, you guys will notice the John Deere 400 looks much more complete than in my last video. I finally received the John Deere 400 hood decals. So those are in place and they look fantastic. These were purchased on eBay, and I'll leave a link down in the description if you guys need these decals yourself. I will still be purchasing a decal right down here. That is for the fender. It is a little indication how to use this garden tractor. So that decal will be placed right there. That will be coming in very soon, and I will be receiving that by John Deere. Another piece I added to this John Deere 400 is this little plate right here. This is out of a piece of steel. I cut this out and I made my custom template. I have it over there on the table and I'll share with you guys that right away. I then fastened it with 6 rivets. I did see there is one of these online for sale as well, but they only mount it with 2 bolts on either side. But I think with 6 rivets, it will hold down much better. And it is originally also a black plate. It does look a little bit off in this setup, but black is the original color, and I still might give those rivets a touch of black so they don't really pop out when you first look at them. Many of you guys saw me install this on the John Deere 400, so I made a template and then I cut it out of the grip tape and put it down with a roller. The roller came with this grip tape, and then this is really high quality grip tape. It is not something very thin. It actually has texture to it, and when I rub it, it doesn't just fall off like that cheap one. So over here on the table, I do have my templates. I have the John Deere 300 template, which I actually grabbed at first. I still have this from the previous rebuild. So I put it down onto the John Deere 400, and it just doesn't fit. The size is totally off. So as you guys can see, the bottom side of the fender pan is actually narrower than on the John Deere 300, and it is a little bit longer towards the top. So I couldn't actually use the John Deere 300 foot pad template, so I had to make a new one. And as you guys can see from the top, this one has a much bigger taper on the bottom, and this one is actually tapered as well, but it is a little bit longer as well. So you guys can actually see the difference right here from the 2 grip tapes. Then this on the top is actually the fender cover template. This is custom, like I mentioned before. So as you guys can see, I added a little bit tape because my paper was a little bit too small, but these are the 6 holes I drilled out. And this cover template is for that cover right there. Another thing which I didn't have in my last video was the seat. Obviously, I cannot go anywhere with this garden tractor without a seat. So I purchased an aftermarket seat. I have this for the John Deere 300 and 317 as well. And I actually like the quality. It is a fair price. This was purchased at Princess Auto. That is the Canadian Harbor Freight. As you guys can see, an original seat on the back would have a John Deere logo right here. But I actually like it because down below there's a bunch of room for adjustment. So in case you want more stance between your seat and your steering wheel, you have a lot of adjustment down below from the seat to your seat springs. but also right here, I'm all the way back on the seat spring, so I could technically bring this a little bit more back, but then again, I don't want to be touching the fuel tank cap either, especially if this bounces up and down. So there's a little bit less room right here compared to a John Deere 300 or 317, but I still could come back a little bit more, maybe an inch or two, without touching this fuel cap right here. But as I drive this garden tractor, I'll see which position suits me best, and I'll go from there. In my last video, I didn't have the two taillights either, so these are two aftermarket taillights. The original ones are very expensive, and I didn't want to go that route, so I purchased these at Princess Auto for $5 a piece. And what I did do to them is customize them. Inside of the lens, you guys will see it's white, but I scuffed up the bezel around it, and I made them look a little bit more original because this was white previously, and I painted them black. And I think it gives it a better contrast because there's not much that's white on this garden tractor, especially the seat pan, the frame, and the wheels are all black, and then you'd have a white bezel, which looks a little bit off. So I went ahead, took the lens off, to then mount the bolts, but I also scuffed the perimeter, which is the bezel, and I painted it black, and I think it looks much better this way. Walking around to the other side, you guys will see the John Deere 400 decal is in place as well. I wrapped around the John Deere 400 decal into the lens, so the lens, once it's tightened up, it actually holds the sticker or the decal in place over there. So the John Deere 400 decal is in place, and everything on this side is mounted as well. Another thing that was missing in my last video, but you guys probably didn't even notice, were these little side covers for the instrumental panel. This lets air come into the instrument panel as well as over here, because the flywheel pulls in the air from right here and pushes it forward out the grill. So that's something you guys probably didn't even notice on the John Deere 400, but that's something you gotta mount to make this John Deere 400 look very complete. I gave you guys an introduction on the John Deere 400. I mentioned this will not be the last video on the John Deere 400, so if you guys are very interested in this garden tractor, stick around for future videos. But as of right now, I think the best way to portray this garden tractor is by itself. So I'll let some music roll, and I'll give you guys some close-up shots on this complete John Deere 400. On the John Deere 400. Many of you have been following along since day one, so that is from part 1 all the way to part 15, which was part of the rebuild process. Today is the final video, so that is just a walk around, and in the near future I'll be still working with this garden tractor, but I'll be working on some attachments, and I'll also be discussing some hidden costs that went into this garden tractor. Since the John Deere 400 is finally complete, I can bring in some other projects and also work on some projects that still have to get finished up, so stay tuned for upcoming videos.